Hello, this is Joe Forward, legal writer for the State Bar of Wisconsin. And this week is National Lawyer Wellbeing Week. And as this pandemic continues, it's important, it's a good time to talk about lawyer well-being. And this morning, I'm here with Lindsey Draper. Lindsey is an attorney in Wauwatosa. He's the former chair of the Wisconsin Lawyers Fund for Client Protection. He's a retired circuit court commissioner from Milwaukee County, and he's a current member of the National Task Force on Lawyer Wellbeing. Lindsey, welcome. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thank you, and I appreciate your interest in the Lawyer Wellbeing Week.
So, Lindsey, tell me about the National Task Force and on lawyer well-being and how you got involved in that.
Well, dating back to 2016, there was a recognition based on a couple of major studies that the legal profession had very specific needs that essentially said, let's not wait until lawyers are in trouble. Let's not wait until they have harmed a client or harmed their own reputation and ability to practice or harmed the profession. If there are issues, let's address them. The second piece was, let's recognize that not all problems and issues in the profession lead to some kind of misbehavior. We have some very competent, very good lawyers who opt to either never start to practice or who leave the profession because of the stress, because of the culture. And as a result, there was the 2017 report from the National Task Force that said, we, people from the legal profession, people from the judiciary, people from entities that service them, have looked at this and have recommendations.
Did part of this task force stem from that national study of lawyers that the ABA and other groups were a part of?
And that was one of the studies that caused this. The second one actually had to do with the study of law schools and law students, that there was a recognition that both at the beginning parts of the profession, but also as people were practicing. So it was a combination of those two studies that led the ABA and its entities to put the task force together.
Okay. And when we talk about lawyer well-being, what are we talking about? Are we talking about trying to change individual attorney behaviors, or are we trying to change the culture of the legal profession?
We're actually looking at both of those. One of the ways that I got involved in this, I am a previous chair of what was then the American Bar Association Standing Committee on Client Protection. That had to do with the piece where lawyers fell from grace because of substance abuse. Some walked away from the practice. But it also had to do with recognizing losses occurred when lawyers aren't healthy. The piece that looks at individual lawyers tries to get lawyers to take care of themselves, to be sure that before we get to the point where there has been a loss to a client, before people have caused problems, they have personally addressed it. But also we want to recognize how much there is in the legal profession that pushes people towards substance abuse, that doesn't recognize we ask tremendous amounts of individuals who are practicing. We have a highly competitive profession that says rigorous hard work is what will make you successful. And we want to make sure that people understand at times that takes a toll on our members.
Right. So you mentioned the task force issued a comprehensive report in 2017. It outlined more than 40 recommendations to promote lawyer well-being, including steps that legal employers such as law firms can do to promote well-being among its lawyers. What are some of those recommendations, maybe a few recommendations that you think are important at a time like this, when we're in the middle of a pandemic and legal employers and other organizations are trying to figure out how to make sure that their lawyers are taking care of themselves?
One of the things that has been really important and to try and get communicated across the legal culture is that our members are more than just lawyers. They are people, they are fathers and mothers, they are people who have families, and nothing has shown that greater than sacred home orders, where people have to do the balance of family and legal career, work, and frankly, do it in a different setting. Many of the lawyers who have spent 60 or more hours a week in the office or doing legal related things are now finding themselves at home. So one of the recommendations has been to try and, for instance, look at the pledge that says we will incorporate consideration of family. We will incorporate the need to be mindful of personal lives into our legal activity and our legal expectations. We've also tried to address how not looking at getting help is an option. If there's a lawyer seeing stress as an issue, if there is a law student who needs help, we've got to somehow get rid of the stigma that says that's a sign of weakness, or that is something that will be used and examined that might interfere with you getting hired or passing or being admitted to the bar. That we want to make sure that people feel free to get the help. The stigma is not there if you need it, or that you feel comfortable going to someone acknowledging that stress.
Right. And so since that report came out in 2017, has the task force seen movement on the issue of lawyer well-being in terms of groups signing on to that and trying to make steps to ensure that attorneys are staying healthy and doing things to following the recommendations?
We've been very excited about the buy-in across the board. One of the most significant pieces came when the Council of Chief Justices passed a resolution that not only acknowledged the report, but also recommended that individual states and their legal organizations look to things. There have been a number of conferences that have not only said that the education piece is important. It's not just a matter of states creating their own task forces and issuing reports, but following up, that they bring together all of the people, starting with law schools all the way through the judiciary, making sure that you personalize or that you look at how the various members, the stakeholders in the individual states can contribute. And so we have looked at, I believe, about 60% of the states have some type of program, some type of follow-up, whether it's a task force that's led by the Supreme Court, one that's led by the lawyers' assistance programs, the bar associations. Some states, like our neighboring state, Minnesota, convened conferences to address this, and also to have ongoing activity. And that's why the Lawyer Wellbeing Week is something that is so significant.
Right. So it's National Lawyer Wellbeing Week, which coincides with National Health Awareness Month. Does the task force have resources that attorneys can access to that might be useful during this time, during this added stressful time?
Yes, I would actually want to point to two things. One precedes Lawyer Wellbeing Week, and that was the toolkit that was created for the entire concept of lawyer well-being. The second, there's actually a website. If one were to Google Lawyer Wellbeing Week, there is a website that has a host of activities, a host of information about lawyer well-being that gives access to the various reports that the states who've been involved in this, some states, Colorado, Virginia, have had task forces that have done a great deal. I believe the most recent task force report came from the Supreme Court in Arkansas, but a number of states have done things. So if you were to just look at the website, you'll see a great deal of information.
That's great. So, Lindsey, is there anything else you wanted to say about Lawyer Wellbeing Week or anything in general to lawyers about how they might be dealing with the stresses of the pandemic?
We're all dealing with a time that's unlike anything that we've ever seen. There are stresses that are very different. We're practicing law in a manner that's very different from how we've done it in the past. The thing is, the legal issues continue. So we're going to have to make sure that not only are we making the adjustments, but as I believe it was the Supreme Court Chief Justice in West Virginia, whose comment was, a good lawyer is a healthy lawyer. And one of the things that would be the biggest takeaway, I would hope, from Lawyer Wellbeing Week is that lawyers have to take care of themselves. That is how they'll be able to take care of their clients.
Well, that's great information, Lindsey, and thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.